And so we are live on Facebook. Welcome everybody to the F Show.
Hi, love.
We
Hi,
are
love.
honored to have an amazing lineup of movers and shakers in the sector, people who shape our understanding and meaning of disability and inclusivity, from veterans who host international film and arts festivals to public servants, donor organizations, and NGOs that push the boundaries and ensure visibility and mainstreaming of important issues backed by policy, commitment from government, broadcasters, and creatives, to personal stories that highlight the challenges and exceptional gains made in the sector. So we welcome you all to the F Show. Thank you for being with us tonight. I'm so happy. I know for some of you, it's actually daylight, Charlotte. It's nighttime for us, but you're sitting there in daylight. And I'd like to start with you, Sis Charlotte. Thank you so much for the work that you do. Each of you are really powerful advocates for the sector. So we'd like to start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You left South Africa, you're now in the US, you've been with the World Bank for quite some time.
Bye.
Thank you, Firdaus. And thank you, Firdaus, for pulling together this incredible panel of really amazing people. And just a little bit about myself. So as you pointed out, I'm from South Africa. And I used to work at the South African Human Rights Commission, and previous to that worked for UNICEF. And I would say that all of my adult life, I've really worked in the space of human rights and social justice. And I continue to do that work in a different place and space. This time, my space is Washington, D.C., where I am the Global Disability Advisor at the World Bank Group. And in my role as advisor, I have three main objectives to fulfill. In relation to the goals of the World Bank. So the World Bank has two goals. One is to boost shared prosperity, and the second one is to reduce poverty. And so in order to do that, it's really important for us to identify who are those that are left behind. And so a large part of my work is doing that, finding ways to target and to identify which groups have been left behind. But in order to do that in an efficient and a systemic way, it's been very important for us to do a couple of things. And herein lie the three objectives of my work. One is to build the evidence base around what disability inclusion looks like, how we can design projects that are more disability inclusive. Secondly, how do we mainstream, as you mentioned, Firdaus, disability inclusion into development writ large? And so looking not just for small pilots, but really looking to see how we mainstream the issue so that all of our development gains are inclusive of persons with disabilities. But the third objective of my work is to build partnerships. And so this is an important piece of my work because we recognize that we can't do it alone. And it's absolutely essential that we work through our clients who are often governments, but importantly, how we work through civil society and organizations of persons with disabilities. But I will say that in order for us to really look at making disability inclusion mainstream, we need people like you. We need to normalize the discussion around disability inclusion so that it becomes part of what we talk about on a daily basis. So I'm thrilled to be here and happy to come back with any more points later on.
We're going to show Josie, because I think that partnership with you in terms of the animation that we produced, I'd like us to just show. Josie, you could talk a little bit about what that meant and why it was important for you to commission that work. Okay,
fantastic.
Josie?
Rise and shine, ilanga libalele. Rise and shine, lijaji lihlabi ile.
Wazi and I went back to school today. We were so
excited to see each other, but we had to stay apart. We had to practice social distancing. That means at the entrance to school, we had to wait on the lines that were drawn on the ground, so we could not be next to each other. First, we had to sanitize our hands at the gate. We also had to have our temperature checked. Then we could go through the gate to our classroom, and we had to keep our masks on all day. We were very happy to be at school, even if it is a different and new way of being in school. We love school, and we love to be with each other.
So for
Thank
Dos, I have
you.
to say this was just fantastic to work with you on this. And this speaks to my point around partnerships. So working with creatives, thinking about how we get messages out on an important subject is really important. And what's very exciting about this particular public service announcement is that today is actually Global Hand Washing Day. So it's a perfect fit to have a video like this going out. And so we've tweeted it out and we're getting a lot of traffic around it. But I think it speaks to one of my main aspects of work. It's trying to develop a narrative to speak about disability inclusion in a way that resonates across the world. And so, you know, showing good examples, having positive models, having Josie, I mean, I love Josie, having Josie be that voice that speaks about inclusion is really important. And I think if we're serious about addressing disability inclusion, we need to continue to think about how we make these bridges, how we work together. And as I was saying, how we really begin to make it part of our localized narrative, part of our national narratives, and very much part of the global narrative.
Thank you. What was important for us, Charlotte, is that, you know, my brother Zain, when we started doing the Wazi animations, he kept on testing us and saying, you're talking to children, but you're not talking to our sector. And it is about normalizing it, as you said. So I have to thank both of you for pushing us also as creatives to think about all children, and especially when we came to the issue around disability. I want to ask Mama Sohair, because I know she is busy. Mama Sohair, would you like us to start with you? We can show, we've got 2 videos of yours. We can show the links. Shall we do that? You're on mute, I think. So Justine, let's show Mama Sohair's videos, because then we can allow her to continue with her rehearsals.
وخلي بالنا من بعض.
ونخلي بالنا من بعض.
بس نحب بعض ونخاف على بعض.
Justine, should we show the other one with the little children singing? If you have it. Mama Sohair, can you hear me? We just showed the video.
عشان ماما سهير بديت من غير مزيكا. هاي لماما سهير.
ست الحبايب يا حبيبة
الله
يا أغلى من روحي ودمي يا حنين وكل طيب يا رب خليك يا أمي يا رب خليك يا أمي يا ست الحبايب يا حبيبة يا حبيبة وحبيبة.
يا رب يخليك.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you. Thank you. Mama Sohair, I think you are on mute. We can't hear you. Can you check if you're on mute? We really wanted to show the work that we can see from the clips, just that kind of interaction
Unmute.
with young children.
Unmute now, I think.
Okay, Madam Sohair,
Yeah,
tell us
yeah.
about your work.
Come on. Now it's the 4th forum for the gifted, okay? And it's international forum. And last year or this year, before 2020, it was, come on, with 36 countries. But I'm so sorry to say that after the corona, we stopped everything. So I'm doing this forum for 1 year and a half. I'm working on it for 1 year and a half. But come on, I said, come on, I don't want to make my children here, the gifted, upset. So that's why I said, come on.
We've lost you, Mama Sohair. So basically what Mama Sohair is saying is that irrespective of Corona, she had decided to still host at least the festival
Your
in
word.
Cairo.
But now, yeah. So only with the gifted from Egypt, okay? But then I'll say hello to everybody that will say a word saying missing you. That means wahashtuna. I'm saying to everybody all over the world, wahashtuna. We miss you. We miss all the
Wahashtuna.
countries. Wahashtuna, yes. And that I will show all the activity of our children here. And the one who you saw now, he is doing a Superman. I want you to show now how he is doing the Superman. But now he is not dressed. Oh, come on.
Okay.
Because we finalized the rehearsal. But I'll show you. Come on. I don't know why we can't see the picture. I don't know what's happening.
We lost you. We lost your picture.
With the camera. Come on, here.
Yeah, there you are.
Here it is. Yeah.
Yes.
تعال. وريني هاتشيف.
And he's Superman.
ورينا يلا ازاي نعمل سوبرمان.
يلا كمان دو سوبرمان. يلا ورينا ازاي سبايدر مان.
Oh, Spider-Man.
Can you see him?
I can.
Okay. And then,
Yay. Spider-Man.
Come on, Spider-Man. Come on. Really, I would love you to be with us. Really.
I would love to be with you as well, Mama
Because
Sohair.
you know you are always with us. But I'll send for you and you can show them to everybody how our children made a great song with the great artists in Egypt. So I send you the 2 videos and please send them to everybody and say hi to everybody. I would love you to come and join us and see how after 4 years, I made a great difference with the children. They can sing, they can dance, they can, making something great in the pictures and so on. So
and the artwork that you've done.
The artwork, it's something great, really.
And all the craft.
Everything.
Yes.
And even everything that I can put it in my necklace or something like that, it's from them.
Yes.
You
and
know
on
that.
Our rings and the rings you gave us.
Everything, really everything.
Okay,
So
Mama
I'm not
Sohail.
working. I'm telling you, I'm not working. I love what I'm doing.
I
So-
know that. I know that. This is your work. So, for the rest of our guests, Mama Sohail is an absolute inspiration.
Come
She
on.
hosted the film festival and now she started working
Thank you,
for
love.
the gifted. Thank you. If you need to go, it's okay. We love you. And I think what has been important was her normalizing and mainstreaming. So she said in the beginning, the parents would be so embarrassed of their children, and they would be, in closed areas. They wouldn't come to the festival. They wouldn't go to opera. They wouldn't go anywhere. And when she started to include this festival, it just brought out the energy and the beauty, and it's really shifted the way that we see disability and inclusivity as well. So we thank you, Mama Sohail. That was wonderful. Lizzie, we're coming to you. We do have your website, which I think Justine will show. And then if you could tell us a bit about your work. Your website's fantastic. Those images were just beautiful. So we want to share that, and please tell us about your work.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on this show. It's a great honor. My name is Lizzie Kiama, and I am currently the managing trustee at Disability Trust. We are a very small organization based in Nairobi, Kenya. We work specifically on the rights of women and girls with disabilities. And so I guess I'll talk about the website. So we work on disability inclusion within private sector, for example. And this is me speaking with the late Bob Collymore, who was the CEO of Safaricom, one of the leading telecommunications companies in Kenya, that was also leading the work around employing persons with disabilities in Kenya. So I guess this was me advocating for inclusion of more women. Our work focuses on, I think, the ABCs, to be, if I can just simplify it that way, because we amplify the voices of women with disabilities. We focus on building their capacity to understand, the laws and the legal frameworks that are out there so that they can articulate their needs better. We focus on building partnerships with other organizations that don't work in human rights and civil rights, but don't necessarily practice disability inclusion. So we build those partnerships so that they can include women with disabilities in their work and, incorporate policies that speak to the reality of the needs of women with disabilities. And then lastly, which I think is most important for me, we create visibility. So we have invested quite a bit in creating media products because we feel that the media is a powerful platform to create awareness around disability rights and inclusion. And there's a way that the media has pushed a narrative around, the medical narrative or the charity narrative when it comes to women with disabilities. So we try and, shift that, and we portray women with disability, African women, Kenyan women with disabilities as strong, empowered women, as sexy women, images that you don't necessarily see in the media. So our work around media visibility, I think, is what excites me most. And I think, is why I keep doing what we do. So in a nutshell, that is who we are and a little about what we do. Thanks.
Thank you, Lizzie. So Zain, we are coming to you. We've got a presentation that Justine will actually put on for us. And you can talk to us about your work in the sector, but about yourself as well, please.
Thanks, Fidos, and thanks to be with this wonderful panelist. It gives me a great honor to sit with my dear friends and just talk about disability. Well, disability inclusion in this factor is really making disability look more sexier and take the minds off of us being the beggars out there or handing the cap or something like that. And it's basically showing disability inclusion. So I became disabled about 23 years ago and my life changed and for the better. So it's a transformation for me. It's a transformation to ensure that disability rights are on the agenda of all of government, especially in South Africa. And what we're basically doing in South Africa, especially in Gauteng, we've got a theme for the next this particular administration called Growing Gauteng Together for the year 2030. And we have 7 priorities for this. The first one is around the economy and jobs and ensuring that people with disabilities are in the economy, have a role in the economy, and obviously job opportunities. The second one is around education and skills revolution, to ensure that people with disabilities are really in that sphere of getting educated and moving around. The next one is integrated human settlements, to ensure that people with disabilities have a proper home, a place to go to, a place that we can call home. And then we have safety and social cohesion. Then we have building a capable state. We will also building a better South Africa, a better Gauteng, and then looking at the sustainable development goals. But my niche around all of this is around universal design and access, and to ensure that Gauteng is fully universally designed for people with disabilities. So whether you're a tourist, whether you live in here, to make it easy to move from one place to the other. The presentation that has just been flighted is basically to say Black disabled lives matter. In the past month, we've known that a young little boy by the name of Natalia Julius in the Eldorado Park got gunned down by police, a kid with Down syndrome, totally just out of the blue. And it's saying, how do we express ourselves? How do we express that Black lives of Black disabled kids' lives matter, or people with disabilities matter? So around my work is to basically advocate, to consult, to develop policy in Gauteng, and not only work in government, but also to work with civil society. My interface is with Charlotte as well, and the World Bank and the United Nations, and to ensure that real rights matter, and we need to say, listen, include, and respect us all. I'll leave it over there.
Wow, thank you, Zain. That was very succinct, very clear. I think you also, during COVID, had a very interesting project where you were asking people with disabilities to upload their images. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I think it might have been on the slide.
Yeah. So when the president announced the lockdown in COVID, obviously our government forgot about people with disabilities. And then myself and a team of us, I put a team together with friends and good colleagues, and we started a WhatsApp group. And thereafter, we ensure that people with disabilities are recognized. We made sure that there was food available for them. We made sure that the medication was given to them. So it was basically fighting for the rights for disabled people in COVID. But the main thing was, let us hear your voice. And we then said to disabled people, with your little mobile or whatever, just record it 30 seconds to a minute, and it's uploaded to hear your story about your struggle within this pandemic and how difficult it was for you, or how easy was it for you. And we really found that children with disabilities really suffered the most, apart from the older people. And just being locked up in a place and cooped up, and meltdowns and all of that. So we really got first-hand information, and it's something that we're building on to the next, what do we do with the next pandemic, or what do we do for the next emergency, so that we are now recorded, and obviously ensure that disaster management and all of that has been taken care for people with disabilities. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Zain. And now, Brasol, I'm coming to you. You, Brasol, you're our brother. We love you very much, and we spend a lot of time with you. And you are our Consul General in Italy, and we spend so much time together talking the creative industries, creative arts, etc. And then you come back home, and you have this thing that happens to you, and it shocks and surprises us all. So I want you to tell us the story, but we've got a clip. Would you like us to play the clip first, or would you like to talk first? Can we play the clip?
Yeah, play the clip.
You're on mute. Okay, let's play this clip.
how hostile the world is. Fellow patients, when the security boom gate closes as your car offers is behind to this hospital, be warned, be vigilant, because that marks the beginning of a new struggle for survival. The short-lived experience of excitement tragically launches the brutality of the hard knocks of life. The struggle becomes more vicious, heartless, and devours all hopes for a better tomorrow. That lifelong dream of a walk in the park you harbored transforms into a nightmare. Steve Biko's prophetic words that a black man you are on your own gains traction. Be ready to amass as much courage as possible in greasing your wheel of fortunes as you gallop into the future. The camaraderie of your loved ones, comrades, and friends has evaporated into the social cataclysm the doctor's discharged stamp has cast you into. You wail in your sleep like a baby besieged by malnutrition. In the morning, you look in the mirror trying to identify this body that cages your troubled soul. The scene before your eyes confirms the reality of war.
Thank you, Brasol. That is absolutely touching.
Okay. Hi. Thank you for this invitation, and to the panelists. I admired and always respected all of them. Comrade Zain, Charlotte. These were the people who were inspiring me when I was in hospital. I came back in South Africa in June from Italy. I started a new job. November came, I collapsed, and later, 3 weeks later, it was found that I had an autoimmune disease. I was completely paralyzed for 7 months. The only good thing that the doctors told me was that one, I will be able to recover. It isn't as serious as lupus or multiple sclerosis. But they said you have a 70% chance of recovery. But within the 70%, there's a 3% chance of recurrence. Then I said, it's okay. The 70% in the 150,000 people across the world who suffer from this, I said, it's fine. But I said, I know I won't be part of the 3% of the 70% who relapse. So I'm on that mission even today. I work very hard to make sure that I exercise to reactivate my nerves. But when I was in hospital, one best friend of mine couldn't come to the hospital. His name is Sipiwe Ngwenya. We grew up together. He kept on calling my wife almost every day to say, how is Saul in hospital? And then from there, he will ask, is he not mentally disabled? Are you sure he's okay? And then she'll say, no, he's physically disabled. Only his eyes and his mouth move, and he's able to shake his head, but from the neck down, he's fully paralyzed. And then ultimately, his wife decided she was going to visit me, because if she was going to wait for him to say to her, let's go visit Saul, that time was never going to come. So one day she came to hospital, at the Tshwane Rehabilitation Hospital, and then she called him to say, I'm here with Saul. It's up to you whether you come to join us. So he was forced to come. And then as he came in, then I remembered that, by the way, he said he thought if you are disabled, automatically you are mentally disabled. And then I looked at him as he entered my ward, and I started going like, I think I remember you. And I looked at his face, he was turning pale. And then after some time, I looked at him, I said, "Futsek, madam, okay." I laughed at him. And he said, "No, you can't do that to me." I said, "Hey, I heard that you were saying that you weren't sure whether I was mentally fit. So I wanted to show you that, yes, physically I'm disabled, but my mind is still as sharp as ever." The poem is an extract from the book that I wrote when I was in hospital. And when I was there, I drew inspiration from Boshalot and from an ex-colleague from DERCO, Ambassador Mtoli Nkosi, that I believed he was the I think he's still, by then I thought he was the second most intelligent civil servant in South Africa after Dr. Ayandan Saluba, who was the DG of DERCO. Now that Ayandan Saluba is now with Discovery, it means Mtolisi is the most intelligent civil servant, though he is wheelchair bound. And then I drew inspiration from them, but at the same time, I also decided I was going to employ humor as a survival tactic. I laughed at myself. I gave different names to my wheelchair, your Ferrari, Lamborghini. And then in the 8th month, I started using the Roletta, the four-wheeler. And my mother, who is 91, is using it. And whenever she was visiting me, then I would say, "Let's go for a race." Obviously, even though she's 91, she's been using it for over 10 years. She was stronger than me. She'll always, outpace me. But I was just having fun about it. And then I wrote this book just to prove a point. I said, the outside world is very hostile, but I'm going to make it very difficult for people out there who think they will make my life difficult as a person with a disability. I wrote a book, gave it to an editor who said, "Actually, so this is 2 books in one. So I'm going to take out the chronological bit that focuses in hospital, and from that, turn that into your Facebook, and then later you will publish the second bit as a standalone book." I said, "Okay, that's fine." And then whilst I was on a gradual reintegration to my old job, colleagues started asking me, "Do you think you can stand stress?" Then I said, "Show me one person who can stand stress, then I will be able to give you an answer." Because basically they were saying, "We are not so sure whether you are ready to come back to work." And then later on I heard they were even asking, "Is he mentally stable?" And then to make their life difficult, I decided to develop a PhD proposal. I sent it to 2 universities, one in the UK, and the UK university responded, and 3 professors who sat in the admission panel invited me to come and to present my research proposal and to defend it. I did it. They accepted me. I'm now doing a Doctor of Business Administration degree. I've already passed 2 modules. I'm passing the 3rd module end of this month, and I'll complete the 4th module in December. Then the last module next year, March. Then I'll be having 2 years to complete my thesis. I know it's already in my head, so it's going to take me less than 2 years. But basically, I was saying, I want to make things as difficult for these people who don't believe in our capability and our capacity to deliver according to their expectations. And from there, I set up Brent Hill Africa Foundation, an organization that mainstreams issues affecting people with disabilities. And I said, I'm going to get rid of the shame mentality amongst our people, that when they look at me, that they should see that my disability doesn't define me. I'm much more than what I look like, whether I'm confined to a wheelchair or I'm using crutches or I walk like a penguin the way I'm doing now. By the way, my new nickname is Lopenfal after that legendary athlete, Matthews Motsoarati. He used to hawk and fall. And that's what I do, because on flat surfaces, I don't need crutches. And then if I fall, then I balance with furniture or the walls. But even though even a piece of tissue can trip me, and then the next thing I'll be on the ground. I dive better than the best goalkeeper in South Africa. Whenever my 10-year-old daughter hears a loud bang, her question is, Dad, have you fallen? Then I say, no, even though I've fallen. That's me. But basically, I'm just having fun and I just make things difficult. And I also used to say to people, I'm making life extremely difficult for those relatives who ensured me when I was in hospital. They are now paying premiums and I'm alive, and I'm still going to be alive for over 20 more years to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Brasol. It was such an inspiration. It's so important, the way that you capture your story. Thank you so much. Deborah. Hi, Deborah.
Hello. I'm here.
Deborah, we have both videos that you sent, and we'd like to show those if we can first, and then you can talk to us. Is that okay?
Show the disability. So show the second one first.
Okay, perfect.
It's called Doubling Disability. So show that one first, please.
Okay, sure. Justine?
If we have it, great.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one.
In the world of television and media, we are at a crossroads. We have a golden opportunity to enrich the programs we make, to incorporate new perspectives, and to access an as yet untapped resource of drive, determination, and talent. In short, to become disability inclusive. Right now, 17% of the UK workforce identifies as disabled. Within UK television, in off-screen roles, it's only 4.5%. This is why the UK broadcasters have committed to doubling that number by the end of 2020. Since 2018, Doubling Disability has been researching what our industry is doing well and what we can do better. While good work is taking place, it's often one-off initiatives happening in isolation. Successes go under-celebrated and subsequent learnings go unshared and have to be learnt again. Most non-disabled people don't know enough about disability. They worry they'll say or do the wrong thing. This nervousness can become a subconscious barrier to the kind of friendship and network building that most non-disabled professionals take for granted, meaning even those disabled staff who are employed are frequently disadvantaged. All of these barriers can be broken down, and there are tools, initiatives, and organisations already available to help. The Doubling Disability Report recommends that we work more closely and bring together more disparate production companies and corporations through bridge organisations like the CDN. It recommends that we make adjustments to everyday working practices, update recruitment processes, and make positive changes in how we support existing disabled talent. The UK TV industry values original ideas and unique perspectives above all else. which is why it's time for us to come together to find, to foster, and to celebrate diversity in all its forms, and bring into the foreground the as yet unheard voices of talented disabled professionals.
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. Welcome. Please tell us about your work. Remarkable.
So I run the Creative Diversity Network. We are based in London. Our membership, it's a membership organisation, excuse me, which has all of the main UK broadcasters as their members. So as you saw, BBC, Sky, all of the main UK broadcasters are members. And we are an evidence-driven organisation. So we do research with our monitoring system called Diamond, which is the other video, which we, if we have time to show, we can show. And we gather data on who makes television and who's on television in the UK. We look at what the UK population is across disability, age, gender, ethnicity, and sexual orientation. And then we measure what that looks like in terms of representation, in terms of within the workforce. And we work with the broadcasters to think about ways to change, to move percentages and to change conversations. So this project, Doubling Disability, is our annual campaign. It started in 2018 and was meant to run to 2020, the end of this year. But obviously COVID has had an impact. But essentially what it was meant to do was all of the broadcasters were meant to create positions within the production community, so within shows that they were making or within productions that they were commissioning for disabled people to work in off-screen roles. So anything and everything from writers, directors, to assistant producers, to researchers, runners, and heads of production, and all the craft and technical roles as well. And because of COVID, we've now extended it by a year. So we have until the end of 2021 to meet our target. So the target was to double that, as you saw in the video, the percentage that we started with was 4.5%. So the hope is that by the end of 2021, we will have 9% of people who are disabled working in UK production across the 5 main UK broadcasters. It's a big task, but it's for me, it's easy because I'm a disabled person, I'm a creative, I know where people are, I know that the talent exists, I have no qualms about it. But obviously, people who work in institutions or businesses who are either, as my other panelists have said, who either don't understand disability, ignore it, don't know what it is, are scared of disabled people, don't understand legislation, all of those things. For them, it is a big task. So my job is not just around disability, but around everything, is to make sure that we have an inclusive production community in the UK, working with the broadcasters, with the production community, with the training providers, and also just trying to make sure that whenever possible, disability is on the agenda. When I started in this role 4 years ago, nobody was really talking about disability. So I made it, it was clear from the data and before that, that there was a real problem around disabled people and disability. So I made it a priority, and I talked to them about a priority. I gathered the evidence, showed them the evidence, and they accepted that this is a priority and something that needs to change. So that's kind of what I do. That's a very short summary of what I do. with
That's amazing what you do. Thank you, Deborah. Lizzie, I wanted to check with you in Kenya, because obviously we work in the sector as well. So we're in film and television. And so I was really impressed when I saw those videos. And I wondered in other parts of the world, I'll come to you as well, Zain. But Lizzie, how is it working in Kenya in terms of mainstreaming people with disabilities, whether it's in the creative industries or any other industry?
So I think I'll focus on the creative industry and mainstream media, to be specific. Disability is still very invisible. And as I said earlier, the few occasions that we see disability in the media, then it is portrayed, using the charity model or the medical model. So it is either, the poor person on the street, the beggar, the very stereotypical narrative that surrounds disability. So we very rarely, actually last year we had a campaign around menstrual health, and we were working with young women, young girls with disabilities. And we had this image of a young girl holding a menstrual cup, and she was visibly disabled. And there was uproar on social media. You know, there was questions on why did this company have to, because they assumed it wasn't a disability organization. They said, you know, why did this media company, how dare they, you know, put up an image? How could they stoop so low? You know, why use a model with disability? There was so much negativity. And for us, it was kind of to endorse why we need to continue investing in media, because truly people have very negative perceptions when it comes to disability. And the fact is, those internalized stereotypes, the unconscious bias, that plays a role in influencing, you know, decisions that are made in organizations, the policies, and the treatment or the mistreatment of persons with disabilities. So for us, you know, to answer you briefly, you know, a disability is virtually invisible, and when it is visible, it's not a helpful narrative.
Zain, what would you say is happening with the broadcasters in South Africa?
Well, just to take you back, last year we hosted the inaugural Disability Rights Excellence Awards. And this award was basically to showcase all disabled people within the different fields. And we found that we had about 12 people with disabilities that work for SABC in different forms, where they were producers, production people, actors, and various others. And it was amazing that when we did this inaugural awards, that it was run by people with disabilities from the ground right up till presenting each program. And the Premier sat there, and the MEC for Education, the Sufi, came to me and said, saying, "Where did you find these people?" And I'm saying, "We're there." It's just about making yourself aware and look at things, and not thinking that able bodies are the only ones that can do things. And they were amazed that the production that was run at SABC and most of the main programs like the news and various others were basically people with disabilities in the back offices. So it's about making the inclusion, and the F show is basically making it and bringing awareness not only in South Africa but throughout the world. And people always look at Saul or Charlotte or myself or Shoaib and say, "But you guys are the elite disabled people. You have the nice wheelchairs, you dress well, you guys have good jobs," and all of that. And it's not about that. It's just how we focus and how we basically move ourselves forward, and to bring that awareness, that advocacy program, that bringing everyone together to ensure that our rights are real rights. And that's the way we're moving forward.
Charlotte,
can I say?
Yes, sure,
sorry.
Deborah.
Just
No, go for it.
Go ahead.
In the UK, the difference that happened was the Paralympic Games. When the Games came to London in 2012, one of the main broadcasters, Channel 4, became the Paralympic broadcaster. So they pitched and they got the contract to present the Paralympic Games the same way the Olympic Games were presented. Mainstream television, and they didn't know that at the time they had the only disabled executive in television working for them. So they didn't know, but they went, okay, well, if we're going to do this, let's do it well. And they ran marketing campaigns, and they changed everyone's perception and understanding of what ability of disabled people. And presenters on the shows were disabled people. The show, The Last Leg, came out of it with Adam Hills. So what it did, I mean, you know, for me, there was not enough Black people, and there was an issue around race and ethnicity and diversity within. But what it did was place disability right at the center in sport, and it was, you know, programmed the same way that any other sports program would be programmed. So that gave me leverage to then go, when I came into this job, you know, 4 years later, to then go, okay, which was Rio, which I started the job just after Rio, and Paralympics, and they broadcast that as well. So I had momentum to go with. But I can tell you, it's not easy trying to convince people that disabled people have, you know, are more than experienced within the production side of television.
Charlotte, I was going to come to you, but before I did that, I just wanted Justine to show the second Josie, because this one at least has the branding that we needed to show.
Yeah.
Rise and shine, ilangali balele. Rise and shine, lijaji lisabi ile.
Before I go to my desk, I have to make sure that my wheelchair is cleaned. I will have to ask for assistance. Then I must wash my hands. I can sing a song for 20 seconds, like happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me. I have to wipe my desk. Now I can start with my school lesson. I can take out my school book. It is so difficult to be sitting so far from Wazi. But we have to practice social distancing so that we don't spread the virus. I will also wear my mask all day until I get back home.
Thank you. Okay, Charlotte.
So, I mean, again, I think this just shows that partnerships with creatives is really important. I think we tackled a very challenging issue around COVID-19, and we put a disability lens to it. But I think more than that, we spoke to all children. And our hope is that these PSAs will be used by educators, by policymakers, by families to really spread the word and think about social distancing in a positive way, and to think about it in terms of how it works for everybody. But I did want to pick up on the conversation around how persons with disabilities are being reflected or are being seen as creatives. And I agree that it's beginning to change, but I still think that we're at very baby steps. Just yesterday, the Ford Foundation and the Mellon Foundation announced 20 creatives, disabled creatives, that are doing a whole host of magnificent things, from ballet to paint to poetry, the whole gamut of the arts. But I think that's also possible because in the US, there's been the Americans with Disabilities Act for the last 30 years. And so what we've seen is that you now have people with disabilities that are graduating from college, that are following their dreams, that are becoming creatives, that are doing what they want to do, right? And so that's really important to think about within the context of Africa. How do we ensure that young people are able to have these dreams? Young people with disabilities are able to become dancers. And they are there, I know they're there, but I think we just need to make sure that this is happening more broadly. Also last week, a new feature on Netflix, a movie called Deaf You, that's shot exclusively at the Gallaudet, which is the University for Deaf Students. And it just is beginning to show you that inroads are being made in the industry, but a lot more work needs to go on. And it really needs to start at the beginning. How do we involve children? How do we ensure that all children are taking part in creative activities? And how do we enhance that? So again, some work, but a lot more to go.
Yes, so usually when we come to the end of the show, it ends so quickly. It's the F show, and we say F is for, in my case, as you know, my name's Firdaus, so F is for Firdaus, but I also steal the word freedom, and I say F is for freedom, and then I ask each of you to tell me what F means to you. But before we do that, and this is for you, Charlotte, we lost a very dear friend the other day, and I went to the funeral yesterday. So I do want us to just show a clip that the SABC showed of our wonderful human rights lawyer, Priscilla Jana.
Bidding farewell to the people's lawyer, Priscilla Jana passed away at the age of 76. She was praised for her role in society even after the country attained democracy.
I'm proud of the impact that she made towards her country, South Africa. She was very passionate about her work and serving her country. In fact, she was passionate about everything that she did. This includes raising an African child in a Hindu home as her own.
She fought a long, hard battle in her 76 years of life, and I can safely say that she achieved her mission without any regrets. She loved not only Tina and I, but every one of you who has joined us today.
Honoring her, Jana's funeral was observed in Hindu tradition. Human Rights Commission Chairperson Bongani Majola described the late attorney as a selfless person who was primarily concerned with equality and justice.
To Commissioner Jana, it was not about herself, the commission. She never complained about anything. It was about others. It was about the other person. Had it been about herself, she would probably have, focused on making money, getting fame as a rich lawyer. However, she chose to gain fame by supporting and defending those that had crossed the path of apartheid by merely seeking justice and respect for their human rights.
In his tribute, Gauteng Education MEC Banyazali Sufi described Jana's passing as a great loss to the country.
Here we are, once more bidding farewell to those who made it possible for us to be here today. Here we are, as children of democracy, bidding farewell to the mother of our democracy. Here we are, as custodians of human rights, saying our goodbyes to a human rights activist. Another bright and beautiful shining star has risen to shine from above.
As the country continues with the battle against the coronavirus, the year 2020 will also be remembered as the year those who liberated the country left this world. Ntlantla Khatlani, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Thank you. And I think as we think about the rights of everybody, and I get quite emotional with Priscilla Jana, because we actually produced her documentary just after the independence in South Africa, after democracy. I went to the SABC as we talk about the SABC, and I told them about Priscilla Jana, Amina Kachalia, some of these women, these stalwarts, and this white commissioning editor looked at me and he's like, who are those people? And the same thing with the Women's March, of 1956. So I told him we needed to cover the march, and he was like, what march? So I understand for all of you as you sit and you fight for these rights, which are your human rights, and it perpetuates. So here we are. What does F stand for you, Brasol?
For me, F stands for craziness, because I believe the only way to...
Crazy is not spelled with F.
No, for me, it's all about that. Take it that I don't have front teeth, so I pronounce C as craziness.
Craziness. Zain, what does F stand for?
Well, for me, it's Fido's fantastic family, and also nothing about us without us.
Deborah?
It's nice to hear people chanting back there. Things from my very past. For me, it means fundamental. Disabled people are fundamental.
Yes. Lizzie?
I stole your word.
Did you steal your word, Lizzie?
Yes. No, I can't think. I can only think of, the traditional F words. So
Well, that too, right?
That's okay, right?
Wow. You said freedoms, you said fundamental, fun.
Fun, absolutely fun. Charlotte, we're giving you the last word and the F word.
I love F words. I would say fabulous, fulfilled, and forward.
Forward, yes, definitely. Well, thank you all for your generosity, for your participation, for sharing the work that you do, for the work that you do that is fundamental and hopefully fun. Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thanks, Firdaus. Good to see everybody. Wonderful panel.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.